and welcome. I am thinking about our time together in the aftermath of several magnificent days, weather-wise, that is. I have found the clear blue skies and the brilliant sun of this last week to be particularly welcoming and soothing. So before continuing today's reflection, let us take our first break to breathe, with images in our minds of blue skies and brilliant sunshine. Let us take our meditative positions, as it were, on our chairs or against a wall or outside if you choose. Today would be a beautiful day for a walking meditation. Might be getting a little bit hot, I'm inside. Let us be attentive, but alert and focused. And then once we have our feet firmly on the ground and our hands laying in our laps, do you find it's hard to just let them lay there? Mine tend to want to just move nervously about, I think. Let us just lay our hands in our laps. And then let us take inventory and see if we can find places within our bodies that would appreciate being released, would appreciate being found, and then being released. There are so many places, I think, that we just ignore day by day. So let's start at the tops of our heads and release our scalps. I mean, perhaps we can move them around our heads or think that we are. And then moving down from there, let us pretend that we are wiggling our ears. Maybe we might want to scrunch our eyebrows and then let them go. Release our jaws, our tongues. I think these are places in our faces that we just hold on to very, very tightly. Our necks are always a good place to pause, take a roll around and see what kind of creaks, I think that's the word, creaks, we can release or find. And then attach to our shoulders. Let's scrunch up our shoulders and allow them to let go. I like to flap my arms, sort of feel like we're birds. There's that silly bird dance, I think, where we go like, with our arms and our shoulders, our elbows, twirl our wrists, wiggle our fingers, lay our hands in our laps again, and feel our digestive systems within and try to imagine just a gentle caress of our windpipe down into our lungs, into our diaphragms, our tummies. Let us release those tummies. Again, I think they hold on to a lot. And therefore, anything connected to our tummies also tends to be held. Let's move through all of our organs, through our waist on the outside, our hips, our thighs. We might even just massage them a bit. I think thighs probably take a lot of holding as well. Maybe not so much when we're walking, but when we're sitting. We could flap our knees back and forth and our lower legs and wiggle our ankles and wiggle our toes and pretend for a moment that we're at the beach and just digging our feet and our legs into the sand. And then let's breathe, just out of a relaxed state. Let's take that deep breath, filling up as many of those hidden places inside as we can find. And even if we know that the breath doesn't actually reach them, the imaginary process of sending it there engages our minds in just the ways we want to be thinking about right here, right now, and no place else. And if we can think about holding on to that breath, let's not hold on to it, let's just hold it inside and enjoy it. Enjoy breathing so deeply, so fully. It's not what we're normally doing. Just teaching ourselves the feeling of that. And when we've held on to it just a little bit too long, let it go. And let the air go out in an extended kind of way. We might even experiment with how long might it take until we have to take another breath. Filling up, thinking about how the breath goes in, thinking about where it goes, thinking about sending it in so many directions. And then luxuriating in the fullness of it all and in the thought that it is healing from the inside. Soothing. Certainly comforting. And then sending it back out again. I'm so sorry. Let us bring it in again. And just enjoy it. And experiment with a different way of letting it go. If we normally do it slowly, let's go. We normally let it out all at once, let's apportion it out. And even once we think the breath is all gone, let us just sit at the release for another couple of seconds. And allow the impulse to breathe in again, to come naturally. I have often wondered at the total indifference of nature to the concerns or feelings or circumstances of humanity in general, or any one of us in particular. There have been times in my life when I could not understand how the sun could be shining so brightly when I was in the depths of despair. I have seen grief in others that was so great, the sufferer could not comprehend how the world could keep on spinning and the rest of humanity go on its way to jobs, restaurants, the store, home, when the individual found it difficult just to breathe in and out. This week in our country had something of that quality for me. As I have expressed before, I try to stay away from politics and current issues that evoke strong opinions on both sides of a question. That is not what our time together is about. I recognize that there are those who welcome the Supreme Court's decision out of deeply held moral and ethical convictions, and I respect those convictions. I confess, however, that I found the decision to be deeply troubling on many levels. not the least of which is that Judaism maintains, in the Talmud no less, and has done so for 2,000 years, that life does not begin until the head of the fetus emerges from the womb. Until then, the fetus is a potential life, but not a viable life itself. If the mother's life is in danger from her pregnancy, the rabbis rule that the fetus must be removed to save the life of the mother, who is a living human being. I find the diminution of women's rights deeply concerning. The possibility that this is the first in a series of possible restrictions of women's health and sexual choices, chilling, and the blatant politicization of the Supreme Court, one more weakened pillar of our storied democracy. Many have analyzed these consequences and likely outcomes, and right now it is difficult to envision a productive path forward. I believe that will emerge, and is already beginning to do so in many parts of our country and our communities. My immediate question, in response to the despair and discouragement I have observed in my children, my friends, and much of the public discussion, is how do we go forward in a country and an era that seems suddenly to be so contrary to what we thought we knew and lived, and upon which we thought we could depend? How do we begin all over again to fight the battle we thought we had won, and from which we thought we could move on to other things? Who are we? Who are the people who are making these decisions? How do we make sense of the backward trajectory of regressive decisions and policies? When will women be considered truly equal, with independent and credible agency, as fully human beings? These are the questions, that bedevil us all. We are redoubling our efforts to ensure that everyone who is eligible to vote does so, because elections, all elections, even those seemingly insignificant ones that take place on off years from national elections, even those have consequences as we vote for the judges who are the ultimate arbiters of questions that affect our daily lives and our personal status. As an aside, I pledge to myself right now that I will never again pass by a vote for a judge because I didn't do enough homework on the candidates for whom I would be voting, and therefore felt I shouldn't just check a name that sounded familiar. These are eminently actionable items, but I think there are larger, more serious, and more complex questions that are part of our current situation. My children are seriously discussing what it would mean to live in another country. My daughter has 3 children under the age of 5, the youngest of whom, her daughter, is 4.5 months old. Her fear for her children's future is palpable. Last Thursday night, the night before Friday morning, when the Supreme Court decision was handed down, I had the opportunity to hear Isabel Wilkerson, the author of the nationally acclaimed book, Caste. She is an eloquent and articulate speaker. She answered a wide range of questions regarding racism, white supremacy, political and economic realities, and our future as a cohesive society. I found her to be an outstandingly insightful and brilliant thinker. Regrettably, no one asked her about the impending Supreme Court decision, as it hadn't been rendered yet. If she had spoken the night after the decision, instead of the night before, I believe she would have analyzed it in terms of the caste system she sees at work in the very foundation of our society. I believe she would have said something to the effect that this decision is a manifestation of white male supremacy and the ongoing endeavor to maintain a hierarchical social structure in which white males maintain their privilege and assert power over those who are in lesser castes and therefore have less or no authority or power. By doing this, they maintain the lowest levels of society in what amounts to perpetual servitude. I think this is probably close to what she might have said, and I think there is merit in the analysis. I find myself wondering what it is about women that since the dawn of civilization has seemingly tormented men. That is a topic for another meditation. For now, I will share with you another couple of thoughts. In conversation with my son, who was admittedly feeling depressed about the state of our world and so many of its manifestations, I found myself saying two things that I could not have predicted 10 minutes before our conversation. I said to him that I know two things. Number one, we can't give up. And number two, we have to have hope. He asked me why we have to have hope. My first reaction was, how else will we get up in the morning? But we both quickly realized there are reasons to get up that aren't necessarily hopeful. We have loved ones and we have work that may be meaningful. But he said, I don't need hope to love my wife or to go to work every day. Why do I have to have hope? I think I said something like, because we do. But I have been thinking about the question ever since, and I will continue to do so. But for right now, I think hope is more than, I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow. I think hope is larger than that, and possibly as essential as breathing. I also think it is a religious imperative. I cannot cite the verse in the Torah where God says, thou shalt have hope. It doesn't exist. But I think it is inherent in the creation of the universe, as related in the first chapter of the book of Genesis. After the creation of every day, God says, it was good. Going further in the book of Genesis, despite repeated failures on the part of humanity, God keeps looking for a worthy partner, a human representative who can work with God for the completion and perfection of the world. God's primary project with the Jewish people, that partner God finds, is to free them from slavery and to give them a code of laws, divine, objective, ethically rooted laws by which to live. And God accompanies the Israelites on their journey to the promised land. What could be more hopeful than a promised land? I have previously referred to Rabbi Irving Greenberg's articulation of the dream, the vision that Jews have of making real in our world something whole and pure and unified, of something beautiful, meaningful, and peaceful, of elevating the mundane of our everyday to the sublime. Jews have dared to dream that outcome against all odds, all evidence, and every prediction. We have stubbornly held on to the belief that a world lived in God's image is possible, and more, that we can help the dream come true. That is what the Jewish future is. and has always been about finding a way to make the dream come true. The goal often feels very far away. It feels too hard, too long, too fraught. That is why Greenberg teaches we have encouragement along the way. Every Shabbat provides a glimpse of the dream, a taste of perfection. Every festival and holiday reminds us of the goals that will be realized when the dream arrives. Freedom, love, justice, bounty, joy. Every life cycle event celebrates the wonder and nobility of being human and the partnership with God that advances. Every class broadens our horizons, deepens our understanding, and ignites our imaginations. Every meeting brings us together for holy purpose. Every interaction offers the possibility of a sacred exchange. This is the Jewish response to setback and obstruction, to evil and destruction, to injustice, hatred, and tyranny. We would have disappeared long ago if we didn't stubbornly, maddeningly even, counterintuitively, irrationally, and intractably maintain the determination to go forward, to never give up, and to have hope. Hope for the Jew is not a time-limited kind of dalliance. Hope is the 2,000-year yearning for a state of our own. Hope is hatikva, literally. Hope is the willingness to be part of the human story for the long term. Hope is not some ephemeral spirit. It is our life and the length of our days. It is who we are in the face of who they are, whatever iteration that takes. We have been here before. It feels far too familiar and therefore far too defeating. And that is exactly why we continue to hope. We do not give up. We put one foot in front of the other and we go forward into the future, whatever that future may hold. Because we believe, despite any transient evidence to the contrary, that the promised land awaits. So let us take another few moments to break from this world and just to breathe. It will prepare us for taking the next step. If we need to release, let us do that again. If we want a mantra, we might say, hope, hope, I have hope. Don't give up. I have hope. Or the promised land, the promised land, the dream of the promised land. Hope. I have hope. I was created with hope. I was created out of hope. I was created in a fulfillment of hope. I hope you will continue just to breathe in and out, to take this opportunity to, yes, break from the world and breathe. Just breathe. It is your right. By way of formal conclusion, however, I'm going to share with you again a poem by Maya Angelou, which I've read before. It is entitled, Still I Rise. Still I rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide. Welling and swelling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. May this be a week for you, where you feel that you are rising, rising above the concerns of the moment, rising above the pulling down of the moment, rising above to a far greater reality that transcends and endures and envisions something better for us all. May it be a week of health and of strength, most of all. God bless. See you next time.